communities of the healthcare and so on. But anyway, probably next year we will talk about something more about this. But for example, when you look at the Pokemon Go, I heard from someone that the playload of the Pokemon Go could be downloaded. So if so, the playload could be actually sent to the information bank, and then you may actually ask a personal trainer to train you for a better score, and also you can be much more complete and competent with the others. And also you may get some kind of points rewarding by visiting some specific, let's say, shopping malls by showing your, let's say, playloads. It's something like a Pokemon Go economic, let's say, system or kind of ecosystem. Okay. So anyway, the information bank. Anyway, bank concept could be a good metaphor to accelerate the concept of the MyData. Although it may have some kind of side effects and also some of the legal frameworks or limitations, anyway, might be devised or kind of. But anyway, this is what we are doing. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So there is one tough question again. For data collection or contribution, can individual motivation for MyData compete with Google AI, which knows, which collects your daily life implicitly, and they know more how your data is valuable and useful, and we don't.
I see. Yeah, actually, I assume that we will have many or several information banks competing for you. So that means, so if you think that the one information bank is not very good, so then you can move your data to the others, because you can choose a kind of appropriate mediator or a kind of advisor. But in case of the Google, probably once you, let's say, leave the Google, actually, you may have to leave the data, and you may have some kind of difficulties. Yeah, so in that sense, data portability or transferability might be one of the key concepts underlying the information bank.
Thank you. Coming from Silicon Valley, and AJ.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so thank you very much. I would like to invite you now to jump with me on an imaginary plane, cross the Pacific, and let's go to the United States and see how the personal data topic is handled there. Actually, I want to do that together with my colleague Andreas Berger in 3 big blocks. First of all, we want to start the frame about personal data, so what is the legal situation, what is the social perception. Before then, Andreas will tell something about business models that are there in the US today around personal data, and also what business models are currently about to be invented in the United States. So, let's start with the legal frame. When you look at the situation of privacy and data protection law, you will often hear a sentence like that. So it says that there is not a single data protection and privacy law in the United States. What people love to make out of that sentence is that there is no data protection and privacy law in the United States. Actually, the opposite is true. In the United States, we have roughly 120 laws that somehow deal with data protection, privacy, always linked normally to sensitive personal data, and very, very much sector and industry specific. So when you ask me what to take away from this part of the section, I can only advise you with the following. If you want to do personal data business in the United States, especially around sensitive personal data, check carefully which laws may apply to you when you do business. So, but does that mean that this presentation is now over and this part is ticked? No, it's not. I have some good news for you, because there are some rules and regulations that are linked to personal data and privacy that every company should stick to. And these rules come from the so-called FTC, so from the Federal Trade Commission. The Federal Trade Commission is an institution in the United States that has a big task to ensure competition and ensure the voice of the customer is heard. So with other words, it's an institution that fights deceptive and so-called deceptive and unfair trade practices. And deceptive and unfair trade practices with regard to privacy and security are generally around 3 topics. First of all, inappropriate measures to secure data. It's secondly, inappropriate or inadequate information about persons and people, what data of them is stored or taken. And the third part is then the disclosure and the use of this data in an inappropriate way. What is important for me to mention, and that's also the second thing that I would love to have you take away from that one, is the FTC is not an institution like, in other words, some kind of tiger without teeth. So the FTC is very active in fighting for these rights. So therefore the rules and the best practices that you can see from their actions and deduce from their facts is something that every company really should stick to, because otherwise you will face significant fines in the United States, which I want you to avoid, of course. So, let's now look into content. So what is it actually that are the rules of thumb that you can see from data protection and from the way that the FTC works? In general, I would love to discuss it with you around 4 topics. It's the first topic of collection and processing of data. And what is important about that is, in general, from the processes and from the cases that the FTC has, it is regarded as appropriate if a user is informed upfront to any collection of personal data, and when he has the option to opt out. So these 2 things must be given in an appropriate service when you don't deal with sensitive personal data, in order to be what they consider as fair and non-deceptive. It's very important for me to mention one point. Opting out, or when you look at that in the first instance, you can have the feeling, sounds like an appropriate way of securing personal information. If you ask me, opting out and opting in is significantly different. And I don't know whether you know about this case of something very, very different, organ donation in Europe. I don't know which countries it were, but there was one time a study that says there is one country A, I think that was Germany, where the organ donation, so really donating organs after you are dead, the participation rate is only 20%. And then there was another state, I think it was Austria, right next to it, where the organ donation rate was 80%. And what the media made out of that one, and I can say that I'm German, was the Germans are not as willing and as helpful when it comes to donating the organs. When you look into that in depth, and that's the interesting part about opting in and opting out, you saw that the systems were completely different. In Germany, you have to opt in to give organs away. Only 20% actively did that. While in Austria, the situation, the default was, no, you are an organ donator until you opt out. So 20% did it. What does that mean for our data protection topic? Yeah, it means for me that this rule of having or giving the choice to opting out is somehow a very, very weak rule when you take personal behavior into account, because normally people would just say, thank you very much, and 80% would just go with the flow. So therefore, collecting and processing information in the United States is fairly easy from that point. Fairly easy is also the point of transferring information. We saw that in Japan, that there is also strict regulations, in Germany as well. In the United States, there are no rules regarding transferring data, so that means when you work with a subcontractor, when you work with anybody around the world, you can just share this data in the internal processes. Just ensure that your partner also sticks to the rules that you have to stick to, as if you were part of your company. Data security is also something which is not very strict to a certain extent. It just means stick to the state-of-the-art kind of processes and procedures to secure the data. So there is nothing regarded to specially secure anything unless you have this reasonable technical and organizational measures. While this part was, from my perspective, very, very weak and offers a lot of opportunity for making business with personal data, there is an interesting one when it comes to breach notification. The Americans are very proud of the fact that they invented breach notification. That means, perhaps you can say they are not as good in securing personal data upfront. They opened the door for making business with personal data, as we just saw. But once you breach, so once you have a leak where a name plus a sensitive data field is leaked to the outside world, you have to inform the customer immediately. And this breach notification is also a lot of times case of fine, because companies sometimes try to not tell this information to the world. Is that the situation that we will see also long in the future from now on? I have to sad news that everything that I told you is just the state of the art, and most likely will change in the next years. And the change essentially comes from the movement, you heard it in the last 3 days quite often, I think, the movement that we see in in Europe. Because what we see in Europe is, we have the GDPR, that is a European-focused general data protection regulation. but it has an effect to all the companies around the world. So even a US company doing business with only one European customer has to stick to the GDPR. And what we see right now in the movement in the United States is, of course, that the United States citizens say, whoa, if you provide this right to the Europeans, then I would like to have that as well. So we see that there is currently a movement going on that says, why not just adopting what is coming from Europe? Because we also want our data to be protected, we also want to have it portable. If there is a value from that, why not? So I think next year when we talk about general data protection in the United States, we might see a picture that is not as crisp and easy as the one before. Having said this, I would love to go over to the next point, which is for me personally more important because it's now the social perception. So that means the other side of the medal, namely what is it that people want to have from privacy, personal data, business and stuff like that. And important to say is the results that I'll show you right now are based on a survey that we did from our company in order to test the waters. And it's quite interesting. So, to tell up front. What we saw in our study was that today the people are highly having negative associations around personal data business. 70% of the people that we asked told us that they are worried or even strongly worried about what is done with their data. And when looking a little bit deeper into that, the reason for that comes from two big effects. The first effect that nourishes the negative association is the shady personal data practices that we saw so far. We saw them from the fact that people tell us, I have no clue who has my data, and I have no clue what the data, whoever has it, actually is used for. And that, of course, is untransparency or this intransparency about that, of course, nourishes negative feelings. Is it now that we can only blame the, what was it, GAFTA, or this Google, Facebook, and all these big companies for this situation? By far not, because our survey also showed that the people in general are highly low educated and have very low knowledge and awareness of personal data. We ask the people, and when we ask the people, what is Google actually earning money with, do you have a clue? They had no clue about it, or a large amount had no clue that they earn money with advertising. Some even thought that Google is a non-profit organization that has this great search engine. The other thing that we also said was an indicator for this low education and this low awareness level was when people told us they are aware of their data and we asked them, do you read actually the disclaimer when installing a new app? 90% said no. So there you can see the imbalance of being aware and being afraid of something, but when it comes to concrete action, either not wanting to change anything, that would be the most extreme part, or at least just not doing anything about that. So that is what we found. And having said this, we now found a very interesting part. Because despite of this negative situation where we already said we should leave that part of the business here, I think that's nothing to tap into, we saw that people have hope. Because after having done all these kind of questions, we asked them, anyway, do you see more a risk, a threat, or an opportunity in personal data? And 30% said, I see an opportunity or even a large opportunity. And digging deeper into that, they said, I am very much willing to A, share my data with a partner, and that's important, with a partner that on the one hand side is transparent regarding which data he takes, and I would even love to give it away more easily and more willingly if this partner even gives me also control. Not only transparency, but also allows me to influence what my data is used for. But, of course, that's the human being and the human mind, I give it away only in exchange for a certain value. So nobody says I want to give away my data and fine, but of course there has to be something on the other side of the equation, which can be either monetary, so meaning really money that you give away for data or that you share for data, or, and that was even more positively perceived, giving improved service, better services, something back for me personally. And that is, I think, a good message that we read out of our study, and that also made us very confident that this turf is something we should dig into. People are right now very afraid, but they want to have more from that. The interesting part, and the last interesting part about that one is the results that you just saw only marginally differ between gender, age, and country. And also more interestingly, these results are perfectly in line with studies that we see around the world. So you could really sum up that this, what I just presented you for the United States, is true for the United States, but holds true also for the rest of the world. So we can really say this is a global situation, that people have negative feelings, but that they see a wish to have, or that they have the wish and the hope that there is more and more value. And having said that, I think we have now spun the frame for seeing what business models are actually out there, and here you go.
Yeah, to sum up everything, we also want to share you a few thoughts about which business models we see in the world, because I don't know if you were in the discussion yesterday, and we have, if you have reviewed on the screen, I know, there has been many discussions about which business models are actually around MyData. And one thing we can see, there was also said yesterday, the blind are led by the blind. We discuss about MyData and giving back control to the people and all these things, but what the Silicon Valley is really good about, and they have proven that they are very good in actually concentrating on the product and the services. So they don't discuss as much about should we give control, should we give access, where should it be stored, which cloud service should we use. They simply started to make money. And they did that with marketing-driven business models. If you look at the big companies, I'll show you that they actually all did a very good job in marketing and managed to make a lot of money with it, but as has been said before, it's received as shady and intransparent. But you have to be careful who you ask, because usually the people who say that or that are maybe here today, but that's not the average population. The average population did not think of what actually happens to my first search entry in Google, or the third one, or the 40th one. Now, many years after we started using Google, we slowly have a discussion about, hey, what do they actually all know about us? An interesting thing is, most people don't necessarily care as much. They are aware that this is a discussion, as the survey shows, but they have no clue what that actually means. To give you one example, a guy in Austria sued Facebook, I don't know if you know about it, to hand out all the personal information, and it was a long discussion that went through court. And I don't know the exact number of the pages, but I think it was over 1,000 pages, front and back page PDF file that he got at the end about himself. Think about how high of a volume that is. So I want to talk a little bit about the big companies, because what we seem to forget is that they are actually the most valued companies in the world. We took Apple off, which is also an interesting discussion, because they made a very clear decision to not store personal data anymore, which also is a business model in the future. But Google, Facebook, and Amazon, I want to talk about these three for a second, they have managed to make a lot of money with advertising. Google has not used the knowledge it has gotten about you to provide better services. They have used it to make money, to give it to the shareholders, to invest in balloons and in cars and so on. So money is actually what they want to do. And Google has also seen that people in the world, in Japan, in Finland, in Europe, are starting to discuss about, hey, we need to protect the customer. So what these companies do now, they all introduce new ways of how customers can see their data, but they don't focus necessarily on the discussion. We have access control. They focus on visibility and convenience. So what Google, for example, just introduced, and you can try it out later on today. You can now go online to Google, you can go to my privacy settings, and you can actually see what Google has been tracking about you on every service you use at Google. And you can turn it on, you can turn it off. And the funny thing is, I talked to someone at Google recently, most people actually go there and turn it on, because they want to share where they have been all over the world on Facebook, to get likes, because they have been in so many places. So people actually like to see where they've been, what they've looked at. They like to find the YouTube video again they looked at 3 weeks ago to show it to a friend now. So Google is moving into giving access and control, but they don't use these words. They use visibility. The same is actually true for Facebook. Not too long ago, you had no clue which way you actually click connect. Now you can use the app, try it today, and with 3 clicks, I counted it before again and again, you can actually see every app you connected to with Facebook, and you can disconnect easily. So Facebook also gives you a very convenient way to manage your data without explaining you that you're actually managing your data. But maybe, I don't know if you heard about the data breach at Ashley Madison. It was one of the biggest data breaches in the United States. Ashley Madison provides a service to find other partners. You know, if you're married and you get bored, you go to Ashley Madison and you find someone else who's married and get bored. And all the data was leaked, and a lot of people got in a lot of trouble because they were using the service. And so now if you're using Tinder, for example, and you want to get out of there really quick, you can go to Facebook with 4 clicks and you can disconnect. And the next step will be that the data that is in Tinder today, because you share, will be deleted through Facebook. I promise you that we will see that in the next year. And Amazon, I think, is the company that has the best vision on a human-centric world. I wrote an email to Jeff Bezos recently, not that I have private contact with him, don't get me wrong, but you can write him emails. And I wrote him and complained that I can't purchase something in the Audible app. So I got an answer from the customer service, obviously, and in the bottom line it said, we want to be, thanks for supporting us to becoming the most human-centric or customer-centric company. They have understood that this is a huge topic. And how do they move into that? Well, if you buy a t-shirt today at Spreadshirt, for example, which is not affiliated to Amazon, it's not a subsidiary, you can log in, so you can push the pay button, log in with your Amazon account, your address will show up and you're done with the purchase. It's a very convenient way to actually don't give another company your data. Amazon already has it, so why not just log in with Amazon and push purchase? So these companies are very aware of all the discussions we're having. And they don't participate in it because they rather focus on convenience, the service, and the product. And they will make money for a long time. The problem is, that was described before with all the legal trends, is that they will have hard times to keep up in this terrain. That's why they are trying so bad. What most people don't know, maybe in this room that's a little different, but the GDPR is active. This will be executed. So this legislation has passed. So in 2018, at 600 something days, this will be true. And if they don't manage to find new ways to engage with the customers and get the agreement to keep using the data, they will get discarded. And this is why new companies are rising. Like DigiMe, you have seen them, CitizenMe, Power of You in London, you have dozens of companies that come up right now with new business models. And the business model is unclear, as you saw yesterday in the discussion, because they don't know how to make money and they don't know how to scale. This is a huge problem. So what you see in the Valley, and I should have made a slide with some companies, but I will name a few of them. The Valley has a different approach to it. The Valley looks at specific problems. They will store personal data without telling you, hey, I'm storing your personal data. They rather solve a problem. So if you go today to 23andMe, for example, which is run by the ex-wife of one of the Google founders, that you can have your DNA analyzed. I did that, and they store the data. They don't show you all the stuff that they actually store. They give you a very convenient overview about, are you healthy? Who you shouldn't have sex with and make kids with because of the DNA conflicts, who you should have. In my case, I like to sleep. People with my DNA like to sleep a lot. They don't explain me the scientific background. And I read it and I'm like, yeah, that's true, I do like to sleep a lot. You know, they look at a very convenient way to store the data. And once you engage with them, like Mint, for example, Mint is a money management company. So you download the app, you add all your credit card accounts and your bank accounts. They will not show you numbers and all this data stuff that you could see. They will send you an email, hey, I got an email today, I could actually show it to you. I pay more than average on my car insurance, and I should change that. This is something that American companies try. And you know, once I did that, I would tell him, and I would be like, hey, how much do you pay for your car insurance? He would be like, $600. I'm like, hey, I pay 500 and pay more than average. You should really do something. See, and so they have a total different approach, and that's interesting to see. And we believe that a third generation of companies will arrive. Today, we think we are online with Twitter and Facebook and all these things, but I promise you, you're not online. You have no idea what it means to be online. Online means that every individual in the world can listen to every conversation you have. They can see you in your bathroom, in your bedroom, they can see you everywhere. And this might be a far-ahead vision, But on the way towards that world that we are all moving towards too, because you all have a phone, the iPhone 6s now actually connects your voice while you take a picture, so you're actively participating in this vision, even if you think you don't. New companies will arise that need to manage the infrastructure layer. And I think they have the biggest potential to scale, and they have the biggest potential to engage with as many people as possible. And I think they will disrupt companies like Google and Facebook. That's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, so questions. So how often FTC take actions in terms of privacy? I'm not sure if you have the figure.
I can look up the concrete figure. It's very, very often. Very often. So it's on one hand side very often, and when it picks up on this topic, there are also big fines. So it's published, I wouldn't say daily, but weekly somewhere that the company was fined for these things.
And the second question, I'm not sure you have it, but actually, how much for average person's info is valued in Google in data?
That's a very easy question to answer. Yeah. You take the market capitalization of Facebook and divide it by all the users, and then you pretty much know how much value you are today.
Yes.
That's very easy. And the truth is, make it even easier, take LinkedIn, which was just bought for 23 billion, and divide it by the market capitalization. The only reason Microsoft bought LinkedIn is because the data set that is very valuable. The only reason that Facebook buys WhatsApp is because of the data they now can merge, which they just announced a couple of days ago. You can easily always calculate. And I give you an estimate. When I was 16, I clicked on emails to make money. So I gave personal data by clicking on emails. You could do that. You could use a bot. You could make a couple $100 a month. That was about worth 0.3 cents. Today, a data set that we have about individuals might be valuable around 60 euros. And I promise you, if we are in the online world, you know how much, make a guess how much it will be worth. Want to make a guess?
10.
10?
$10.
Anyone else? Higher, lower number?
High.
High?
High.
5? It will be free. Because everyone can access it everywhere. That's my prediction. Any
yes, there is. This is something I want to ask too. What is the business chance for Kumara then?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, we believe that companies like DigiMe and others, all these companies that arise, they can scale. Because they don't manage to get interaction with the customer. So, why did we sign up to Facebook? We didn't sign up to Facebook to share data or to get money back for our data. We signed up because it's a huge network. Everyone is online, you can interact with your friends, and we believe that there's an infrastructure layer between all these people in the world. So today we have 2.8 billion people online, and in 5 years everyone will be online. And we believe that between these people that want to be online and companies that manage data, there needs to be an infrastructure layer that takes care of the connection, of bringing them together. And this is where we want to approach. We just started with the development, we are very early, but we have products that we want to use to engage with companies like DigiMe, but also with total different companies. Like Hans-Martin said yesterday, hardware companies, for example, like Apple, they decided to actively go away from storing data. You can read that on their page. They say, we don't want to have your data, we don't want to store it, we don't want to make money with it. We want you guys to buy our hardware because we're really cool, we design really good devices, and we make it convenient. And these companies need infrastructure to manage data, to put it somewhere. They don't want to be professionals in data analysis, they don't want to be professionals in storage. And if you look at how data grows exponentially, we will double every year on how much data we produce. Not every company in the world can take care of this. They just can't. We can't all be data analysis. So we need to have standards, and we need to have service providers that take care of certain layers of the digital world. And that's where we want to approach.
Okay, so this will be the last question for the whole session. So before I go on, I want you to write down your key lessons and vote for it. So here's the last question. Do you agree with the claim that the real threat for privacy in the US is not the private sector, but the government.
Due to the fact that this session is recorded,
And we want to go back.
of course, governmental-wise topic.
I think I like to answer differently. I think the businesses and the governments are both not the threat. It's the individual itself. I think the only way to stop losing our privacy is to turn off the electricity for the next 5 years. Everyone in this world is participating in a trend away from privacy. You will have no privacy in the future. There's no chance you have. IoT will create 1,000 sensors around you. And if you don't share your geodata, I'll just Google your face or a picture and I will find you on 10,000 cameras, 10,000 sensors. I'll find you everywhere. I'll find a lot of information about you. And maybe don't get into your bathroom, but your fridge. You have little stickers today in your camera, but you forget that you have 6 other cameras in your house. Most of the TVs have a camera today. All the kids stuff has cameras and microphones today. And I like the iPhone 6 example so much because it already shows, if I have an iPhone 6s and I take a picture right now while talking to you, it records the first 3 seconds before I push the button. And it records the 3 seconds after, or maybe it's 2 seconds, 0.7 or whatever, seconds after I take the picture. And then I upload this picture to the internet. Soon, you will be able to search my voice in the internet. And you will find my voice on every single picture that was uploaded that I didn't take. That's reality today. You can go take an iPhone 6s and try it. And now tell me again that privacy is so important. I don't know why. Why should you be allowed to go to an airport if you don't share all your personal information? We are all scared today, so why should we let anyone participate in logistics, education, and so on, who is not willing to share at least something? We can discuss and have more discussion in the next 10 years because that's how long it will take. But there's a trend that you can stop. So privacy will be in the books of history soon, I guess. No, just kidding. But.
Okay, so thank you.